What's up, everybody? Welcome here to Keith and Mike Watch Deep Space Nine. I'm late on the queue already. No surprises. We are here to talk about Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 1, Episode 5, Captive Pursuit. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great. You know what? All is forgiven, Keith, just for the extra brass I'm hearing here panned in the cans. All that brass it covers a lot of BS.
Well, I mean, look, if you're going to do a 90s era Star Trek theme, you need a lot of brass. And unfortunately, virtual brass doesn't sound very good. So you have to sort of bury it in a bunch of stuff. But you know what? Sometimes you can't bury everything. That you just need to express your brass.
Since we're dissecting these things, I was thinking this week when I was watching the show, the first few episodes, awesome. They spent a lot of money on that opening sequence. Absolutely, let's go for it. Now, 5 episodes in, I'm like, yeah, this is long.
Oh, the intro?
It's
Lies.
a little long. It's a little long.
Lies. No, it's.
It's worth it, but I imagine a couple hundred in, I'm gonna.
Well, certainly it is 90s era length. The episodes are a little bit longer than they are today. I think today on national broadcast you get 42 minutes. I think these are 46. So they've got a little bit more air. And look, they spent a lot of money on it. It sounds great. And I'm curious to notice, if you notice the subtle compositional change that's going to happen, I think for season 4, possibly season 5, there is a slight reorchestration that I'm curious to know if you notice. All right, so Captive Pursuit. We are going to hold you captive and pursue meaning from this episode. But before we do that, Mike, we have patrons to thank here. You know what? I'm going to go grab something. Why don't you tell people how they can be a part of our? It's going to make sense later. It's going to make sense.
All right.
Hold on.
As Keith exits into me, we haven't figured that out either. Listen, if you want a much more, if you want us to be able to afford actual brass for our theme song, you can help us out here. These are the people who are already helping us out. This is Alan Zimmerman, Jorge Navoa, Cloud Lover 69, and Brian Kaufman. They are our patrons. We are taking this time to thank them. That is part of what they have received because of their generosity.
And I think we should walk folks through that because each one of these people are at a different level of patron, which comes with different things. So Alan Zimmerman is at the even Quark gets tipped sometimes level, and his prize is this.
Yeah.
Now.
It's worth it.
Oh, boy. And, and Jorge, at the $5 level, gets to participate in our AMAs. Ask or correct these dummies on anything. We're going to do an episode once a month where we answer any question you have. It can be about Trek, it can be about anything else, but how we do what we do. We're going to do that. And if you're at the next level of Cloud Lover 69, the $10 level, you get a bonus episode of something like this. So I don't know what it's going to be yet. Probably a next-gen episode. Could be one of the newer Star Trek shows. And Brian Kaufman is at These Are the Voyages level, where he gets to watch Mike watch this episode. So there you go. I should have layered us over that because that was a lot of time of just text on a screen.
You know what, Keith? Eventually, as the dollars flow, we'll fix that all up. Hey, would you like to join them, guys? It's so much fun. Patreon.com/K&M. Sincerely, we thank all of you. And yes, we might flirt with, also that $10 level, Keith. Don't forget, they can watch us watch the Out of Practice podcast, that's really where it's at. So those are all the things.
At this point, hopefully, before you write an angry comment below, you'll know there are chapters below, so you can skip all of this. You don't need to listen to the ad for us. You can go straight to our next segment.
But Keith, one more thing.
Yes, what is it?
This is an exciting week. This is week 5. That means with this episode, Keith, we are dropping this commentary on the RSS feeds for podcast listeners as well. This is the week we decided we would do that. We would drop the first 5 chunks. And so, congratulations. If Keith and I's face is, if you would like
too
us,
much,
yeah, just you can listen to it too. All right, let's do the show.
All right. Well, okay. So we are talking about Deep Space Nine, Season 1, Episode 5, Captive Pursuit. It aired on Sunday, January 31st, 1993. The top song continued to be, Michael?
Still?
Oh,
I thought I would never let go, Keith, but now I'm kind of just want to let go.
No. There you go.
I will always love you.
And I will always enjoy listening to Mike sing that song. All right. So the top movie
That's
continued. Celine. It's not Celine, it's Whitney.
Folks,
if you come here for Star Trek, you stay here for Mike doing his Celine Dion thinking it's Whitney Houston or vice versa. The top movie continued to be Aladdin. I'll spare you. The New York Times headline was Clinton weighing freeze on new tax on Social Security. Glad we still have that. That's great. So now into the Star Trek world. The director of this episode is Corey Allen, who directed 5 episodes of Next Gen and 4 of Deep Space Nine. It has a teleplay and story by Jill Donner and a teleplay by Michael Pillar, which brings us to my favorite segment, in which I waste your time, Mike, with a bumper that you play because it's a video.
Guys, listen. This is also the part of the show where Keith and I are going to promise you that it's going to get better every week, but I can promise you we're going to break the promise every 7 days. Keith, pitch that to me again. Let's try again.
Oh, okay. Ooh, that'll be fun. And now we go to my favorite segment where I waste your time with a little trivia. It has a bumper like this. Now, Keith, waste your time with trivial trivia. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. We do it live, folks. We do not edit. So, clearly, obviously. So, here we are with some trivial trivia. Michael Westmore and the makeup department won an Emmy for this episode, particularly of the character of Tosk and the Hunter of Tosk, which is interesting because Playmates Toys, now we do a show about Playmates action figures, made action figures of both Tosk and the Hunter of Tosk. Gonna get keyed out because the blue parts, but right here we have pretty awesome action figures for these pretty awesome makeup and costume effects. Helmet on, helmet off. It was rare that they did an action figure for a 1 episode arc, but I totally get it because they look really awesome on screen and in play form. And this go ahead, Matt. Go ahead,
I was just going to say that members at the $15 level will have noticed that in real time that we had the Tosk figure. And although I will say I made a comment, Keith, as I was watching it, that I thought the makeup was stellar for Tosk, but the suit at times when he would be getting too physical and he was like, they were looking under the doodads, often you could see it kind of wrinkle up, and it clearly was like a dude wearing a costume. But hey, TV. And, budget. And this last piece of trivia is this episode, of course, is inspired by Richard Connell's 1924 story, The Most Dangerous Game, about hunting humans for sport and entertainment. when I was texting you about this, Keith, that's what I was trying to think of. The most dangerous game. I kept saying Running Man.
Which I think is a fair parallel
Yeah.
as well. I mean, I think there's certainly the sport of it, the sort of it's never consensual taking part in it, but at least it's not. Somebody hasn't been abducted. I don't know. Lots to talk about as we get into
Yes,
it.
lots
We're not there yet.
Yeah.
So the guest stars include Scott McDonald playing Tosk, Garrett Graham as the hunter of Tosk, who also played the suicidal Q on Voyager, for those looking under the makeup, and Kelly Curtis as Miss Sarda. So I think it's time. Why don't we hop in to the screening room and talk our way through this episode?
Yeah, there we are.
We did it.
We did it. We did do it.
All right. So here we are in the teaser. We get our great establishing shot of the ship of the station, and we meet a Dabo girl with also incredible makeup design. There's only in one scene, so they didn't get an action figure, but this one would have been a cool one. And she explains that Quark and the Ferengis are disgusting with women. No surprise there. We are going to learn. We have learned a lot about this in the Next Generation, and obviously more. We're going to learn a lot more of it there. But the Ferengi are fairly misogynistic and have. So we definitely have some consent issues going on with Quark. It's especially looking at it today. It was like, ooh, ouch. That's not great, Mike.
No, but we find out later in the episode that he does at times want to be better. He comes to learn that what the role of the barkeep is supposed to be, and he tries to engage in some advice-ish type behavior. So at least he's on an upward trajectory.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we are learning things about Quark early in the series, and he has some growing to do, but he's going to do some growing. So
also, maybe we learn a lesson about things we think are gonna, plot lines we think are gonna grow in an episode that maybe hit the snip, because I really couldn't wait to see where this Dabo lady played into the episode in any way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. And I don't get any real answers to that question, Keith.
No, you sure don't. And I think it's either something got snipped or this was padding. That we
Those
came in a little short.
46 minutes were only 43 minutes.
Something like that. Although, to be fair, you needed to have a scene happening to be interrupted by something coming out of the wormhole. So you got to have, from a writing standpoint, you have to sort of do a little slice of life that gets interrupted. And
only,
I guess
Keith,
this is...
we've already done it so many times that, right before the ship blows up, we better beam them aboard. Maybe we should do it slightly different this time.
Well, only mildly different, because we have it's our first Gamma Quadrant ship coming through the wormhole. So it's surprising to me that nobody has gone the other way through the wormhole yet. And I'm assuming they put some sort of a sign that said like wormhole to our quadrant here, but maybe they didn't. And we learn as it comes out of the wormhole, we see the little one-off ship design. We come out to investigate. Everyone's like, what's going on? And we meet Tosk. And it's a green guy who has no idea that he has traveled to another quadrant. His ship is falling apart and he doesn't want to leave it, but O'Brien tractor beams him in and rescues the guy and the ship. And Cisco tasks O'Brien, for some reason, to make first contact with this person. So, go up.
So I had a couple of thoughts here that I'll just kind of plant the seed. We can talk about it as we go on. I thought it was interesting that clearly they mentioned that they have procedures, first contact procedures for any new species. And Cisco uses his sort of gut feelings to be like, hey, this guy seems a little nervous. Maybe we should just have a more delicate touch, which I thought was cool, a cool twist on that.
Sure.
The only thing that I come to question about it as far as lore goes is we learn a little bit later that this is the first time. Hey, this is our first new species we've encountered. So already,
Yeah.
first time out the gate, we're going to just like, procedures be damned. Forget it. We're doing it. Send O'Brien.
Well, and you're absolutely right. It is odd, right, that they would do it that way. Because the first contact with the species coming through the game, like, that's a huge thing. You would imagine there'd be like a Federation envoy there and an ambassador and this, that, the other thing. And it's sort of like, hey, O'Brien, go deal with that. He seems weird.
Yeah, right. No security team goes with him. It's just like, yeah, go, bring us some tea.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. So I don't really quite. I'm with you. I thought that was odd. But nonetheless, it sets up our fun little world that we're in here. Because O'Brien goes to investigate our buddy Tosk and discovers that the ship is empty.
Yeah, maybe the procedures of first contact aren't the only thing that disappear.
Indeed. And it turns out that, hey, Tosk can make himself invisible. So that's cool. What did you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, they definitely were laying a little bit hard on the sort of, maybe he's threatening, maybe he's shady pants, but clearly, I thought it was actually pretty good how somehow, and I can't really articulate, they were able to establish that there's something shady going on, but he didn't feel like an imminent threat. And I think that's I feel like that's a testament to the two performances here, because though we don't really know why they chose O'Brien to go down, I'm glad they did, because as we'll come to learn, this relationship is really well done, and that's due in large part to the performances, I think.
Yeah, great performances, and obviously there's going to be a Predator parallel here. Being able to sort of do the invisible part. Never really explained how he's able to become invisible.
Well, they were bred over many years to do this.
Well, sure, but I could breed myself for a very long time and not be able to chemically turn invisible. I'm just sort of curious about that. But it started. We're just gonna roll with it.
Yeah. Plus, I think that it's smart writing in that. Well, if we establish it's a brand new species no one's seen before, well, then we can just assume that there are things we don't know about them and can't explain and don't need to right now.
Well, and that's fair. And we also don't want to like go down a rabbit hole explaining that and sort of miss the point, because it's not really about that. But it is a cool little trick.
However, as you will find, Keith, later, and we call this a foreshadowing moment. One of my major, I don't want to call it a complaint, but feelings of not being satisfied. No, just like a random wish. I can't, I don't know what the vocab.
You're allowed to complain. It is a review show.
I know, you're right. One of my complaints is that I think because TV, you're going to see that I kind of wish they had leaned heavier into some of the lore rather than, yes, but that's a point. I'm putting a pin in your point there, Keith.
Okay, very good.
There are some rabbit holes I would like to go down.
All right, fair enough. Well, O'Brien learns that his name is Tosk and that he's in a hurry. As they travel through lots of cool round doors, a security sensor picks up O'Brien's weapon, and it continues to make Tosk nervous. They meet Bashir at the... first off, we should just look at a really awesome set design with these round doors. We saw them in the pilot. We've seen them before, but I just like to point out how friggin' cool that established set they have is. Although, and we will address it at some point, not great if you can't step over large things on the floor.
Oh, like because of costume design?
No, not because of costume design, but you see that it's a circle on the floor, so they have to step over about a foot lip on each of the doors in order to get through.
Not particularly handicap accessible.
It most certainly is not. So he sees Bashir here, and we find out, according to this episode, there are only 300 people on the station, which seems very low. Considering
also, they're just letting him. We're like, he could be shady pants. Well, just let him walk around and sniff people. No need to keep an eye on him.
Well, I mean, O'Brien's right there. O'Brien is watching, and I think part of diplomacy is showing trust until there's a reason not to trust.
Okay.
That's very Star Trekian.
The disappearing and then showing up behind him and just kind of like,
Hey, look,
he's startled. You're right. He's startled.
Being able to turn invisible is not a hostile action.
This was like our meeting, Keith. You were very shady pants for a few weeks, and then finally I realized you were being hunted for your life.
And I realized you're the shady one and always will be. All right, so we run into Quark, and he throws a cheater out of the casino as we continue strolling through the set. And they eventually arrive at quarters for Tosk. And he wants... Okay, all right, go.
I'm sorry, I'm going to keep derailing you. I know you're trying to pat your tummy and rub your head at the same time over there, and I'm going to keep...
I'm trying to, like, do 5,000 different tech things.
So, what I think is cool / something else is that they've created conflict between various characters and have had there's a feeling of like something that's continuing, which is good writing, right? Like there's a whole through line here where Quark and O'Brien, Quark's like throwing zingers out about O'Brien's wife, which I don't know that we've really established anywhere else. It's like they have this beef about, he's like making like wife jokes. That's like a quarrel they've had that's ongoing, which is kind of weird, but also very neat that there's that feeling of a lived-in quarrel.
Well, I think it's Quarkle because pretty much Quark has an antagonistic relationship with everybody on the station except for probably Dax. And that's just sort of his I don't know, it's part of being Ferengi, is being sort of a dick to everybody, but like a charming, friendly one. But yeah, it is oddly personal. But I think it is a way to continue the sort of storyline by referencing something that happened in previous episodes and referencing a character that's not on the show. So anyway, we continue. We arrive at the quarters for Tosk. He wants to fix the ship. O'Brien tells him to rest. Tosk apparently only needs 17 minutes of sleep at night, and he doesn't eat.
What do they call it? Per cycle, he says? 17 minutes of sleep per cycle or per revolution or something?
Per cycle. I think, well, because
it's not a day.
Everybody's concept of day is going to be different. We talked before about how it's a 26-hour day on the station because our 24 hours is literally our planet-centric. And who's to say what another planet's day is going to be?
He also doesn't eat, we learn that here, or he doesn't have to because he can store stuff in his cells.
Yeah, he's got cell stuff. And after mysterious music plays while Tosk gets the computer... Oh, after O'Brien leaves, mysterious music plays while Tosk gets the computer to show him where the weapons are stored. And the computer tells him, which probably is not a good idea.
That was my... What? It's like, you can't go in there, but should you want to, here is the exact place it's located.
Yeah, all the cool stuff is here in the cookie jar, but don't go in the cookie jar.
You need level 7 clearance. Well, shouldn't you need level 7 clearance to know where that's at then?
I would think. I feel like that's
computer,
it's
what
a little
is
trusting.
Cisco's social security number and checking and routing number?
Here it is, but you're not allowed to use it until you're level 7. Yeah, it's so there we go. So digital security, we didn't know in 93. Like we were all just like giving out our passwords right and left. We were sharing our Netflix. So in the beginning of
past tense.
At the beginning
93
of Act
Netflix,
2.
You mean Blockbuster VHS?
Blockbuster, yeah, there was no even DVD.
Not yet.
Netflix at that point, I don't think. So Cisco and O'Brien talk about O'Brien's suspicions. He knows Tosk is not telling him the whole truth. His ship wasn't damaged in the wormhole like he claimed. It was damaged in a battle. And Cisco tells O'Brien to keep an eye on him.
Keith, do you think I would be justified in saying that in all of Star Trek, maybe in all of television, no one gives better stanky side-eye than Benjamin Sisko?
Yeah, I mean, he's rarely doing side eye because Cisco's right down the barrel.
Go back once. That. Yeah. That.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, that's like, it has intention.
Oh yeah, no, Cisco. It's there's always there is intent and a command behind the eyes at all times.
With like a soupçon of, is he hitting on me?
I don't know, Mike. I feel like this. It says more about you than it does about Cisco.
Come on now. Everything he says, you're like, is he hitting on him?
Well, look, we all
let us know down in the comments. Do you see what I'm saying? You catch me? You feel me?
I see what you're saying. I mean, he's a very handsome guy. Don't get me wrong. So on Tosk's ship, as I try to keep us on task,
no chance.
O'Brien and Tosk work together to try to fix the ship, and guess what? They're making friends. And they head off to Quark's, and the extras are very extra.
Living their lives.
This is some very the extras on Star Trek. Man, I don't know who the AD is, but you got to like just cool it down.
What's in those drinks, Quark?
Well, a lot. Tosk doesn't understand how soft the Alpha Quadrant is. Says everyone just goofing around, having fun, and sleeping and eating. And they meet Quark, and he tries to sell Tosk on vices, including the hollow sweets. And of course, he doesn't have any because he's got a purpose. He's on a great adventure, but he can't discuss it.
The greatest adventure.
The greatest adventure. And they apparently drink beer out of coffee mugs. And I think I had that, or a variation on that. My father had a coffee mug like that. That one was like purported to not slip when you're in the car.
Mm.
But it's an odd thing to drink beer out of.
I have no comment.
Okay, fine. So back in Ops, O'Brien says, you know what? I like this Tosk. I'm still suspicious. And Cisco tells him to, let him on his way because they have no reason to stop him from leaving. Which, again, I think we're learning in this about Federation diplomacy and Federation sort of the way they operate. They are really a non-interventionist sort of setup here. Whereas if you're in the States, we detain him forever and lock him in a box. But the Federation is like, look, you haven't threatened us. You haven't we don't have any reason to detain you. So even if we're suspicious, even if we're like, I don't know what's going on here, I think there's just like the laws say if we don't have a reason to sweep you up, we're not. But
let's not give them too much credit yet, because he sort of does send a spy to kind of like make sure he ain't being too shady business. Or wait, not yet, right?
It's coming up. Don't worry, because perhaps we'll see something in that painting. So in a dark corridor, we find that Tosk is trying to hack a computer. But Odo, hiding as this hideous painting, catches him. Because, of course, we have to have our Odo reveal moment.
And I think I've cracked the code. If they have an establishing shot on any prop in the scene for just like a beat too long, it's Odo.
It's Odo. Yeah. See, this is how you don't get scared by Odo, Mike. Mm-hmm. So you don't
get
startled.
5 episodes, but by episode 5 now, I'm sorry. I didn't clock it yet. I didn't catch it here, but the second it happened, I was like, damn, I should have known.
Yeah, well, that hideous painting, we've never seen art up on a wall ever
but
in the entire station.
I did think to myself, why are they hanging on that painting for so long? It is absolutely horrific.
Odo's taste in what he pretends to be is it's a little weird. Like, I don't know what's going on in Odo's subconscious, but he's got some weird taste in things that he hides. So Odo catches him, and Tosk goes invisible. And when Odo confronts it, but don't worry, Odo is on it, and he takes care of it with force fields and traps him But Tosk isn't talking. And the music in this scene sounds a lot like the score to Aliens, I wrote down. And Aliens, plural, not the original Alien, one of my all-time favorite movies. But the score there definitely reminded me of that. So what did you think about about Odo's use of the force fields to trap him?
Yeah. I mean, he had a good zinger in there, right? He's like, oh, we could do this all day. And,
but it's cool though, right?
Okay.
What? You telling me the force fields aren't cool? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I found the sort of action sequences throughout the episode to be a little lackluster, if you're asking me, but I think that's like just a Star Trek thing.
It is a Star Trek thing. Yeah. Like, it's not about the action sequences, but I mean, folks, have my back down below. Tell Mike that force fields are awesome and it's cool.
Oh, the concept of force fields, yes, are very cool. I thought that their particular usage here was neat, and they didn't overstay their welcome. It was just like, bzz, he ran the other way, bzz, and then he's like, yo, you're caught.
Yeah.
Now, before the big reveal of the episode, it's an interesting foreshadowing of us trying to capture him, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I thought is interesting because I thought they did a very good job with various moments of foreshadowing without giving up the ghost, without spoiling, which I thought is good writing, because sometimes, especially network television, they can be a little heavy-handed and kind of be spoilery.
You know, it's good writing, and I also think it's good performance, because you can see in the performance of Tosk his feelings about captivity, about being trapped. And like, you know, nobody likes being trapped, nobody likes being constrained, but certainly in this case, like, there's a particular extremity to that feeling. So I think it was cool. So as we begin Act 3, and Mike tries to figure out why I'm so pixely.
So pixely, but it shows a strong.
Yeah,
my internet's good, so I'm guessing that
it says mine's good.
If you would like to help Keith with his internet,
my internet's fine.
Join the Patreon at the Verizon level, at the FiOS level.
Oh yeah, no, I wish it were FiOS. I'm on Comcast. All right, so in Act 3, Tosk is in his holding cell, but he still isn't talking. O'Brien tells Cisco that Tosk was trying to get into weapons storage, which helpfully the computer told him right where it was. He says he hasn't committed a crime, but Tosk just keeps saying that he is Groot and asks to die in honor. And this is when it gets complicated, because a wormhole opens and out comes a new ship.
Now it's time.
It's time. We've trapped him. We know that he is Tosk, and shit's gonna start now. So
Keith, I wish you could have been Keith. Even you're not a patron, Keith, so you don't know this. But
no.
On my watch, I kept saying,
I'm definitely not watching more of you.
Like I was some sort of a genius. The whole time I'm saying, we don't know for sure that his name is Tosk. He could be saying, I am Tosk, as in that is his species. There could be something to it. Like I'm figuring it, like I'm Agatha Christie over here. But I mean, I still was hashtag somewhat right.
No, I mean, you're definitely somewhat right. So
what's best is that because we've recorded these in the future, these watch-alongs, I'm literally talking to myself. So it's really an exercise in madness. But.
Yeah, it's really complicated. And chances are, if you are on that Patreon and you're at the these are the voyeurages, you're probably watching this first before you're watching Mike. I don't know. So
I try to do it the day before. That's the so it would be, yeah.
Do you drop it the day before?
I mean, theoretically, yes, I do.
I think you should. Maybe that's the key. All right. Anyway,
that's it. That's what unlocked the whole. That's going to
unlock
stream.
The whole thing. The entire empire is coming together just from that. So the new ship shows up. They don't respond to hails, but a particle beam scans the station and zaps all the way through everybody. And Cisco is remarkably chill about it.
Yeah,
then
no buzzers, no beeps, no bloops. He's like, it's
he's
cool.
like, yeah, no worries. Just let them scan us. It was something powerful enough to zoom a light through ops over our faces individually. Like,
this is probably why we don't just send O'Brien down with no procedures. This is why we have the procedures, people.
Yeah, honestly. So they ended up raising shields, but the ship does some fancy lights and knocks the shields down, which is some pretty advanced technology. And they beam onto the station, and we find their big red meanies with crazy helmets and big guns. Look out!
Mm-hmm.
So, Mike, what are you feeling now?
Well, I thought their helmets are weird. I thought the exact same thing, and I was like, well, this is like sort of a siege. So, although we do get Ben calling out for security, who are just a bunch of extras, you'd think they'd have an actual security team. But, hey, you know what it's time for, Keith?
It's time for the
an
pew-pew.
action montage.
Yes, it is. We pew against the red guys, and they put up a pretty big fight. And we also learn here that Odo does not use weapons. The big red guy blows through the brig doors to try to find Tosk. So pretty cool pews here again for 93. I've always thought that the phaser effects, which are so simple by today's standards, you can do it on your cell phone, are actually pretty damn good for 1993. I'm be curious, like, is it digital? Is it animation? I believe it's probably digital at this point. But it does look pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
They blow through the doors. Where am I going? Oh, and they try to find Tosk, and guess what? They've got an invisible guy light.
Oh yeah,
and they're able to find Tosk with the light. Yeah, it's kind of like using a black light in a hotel room. You're gonna find stuff. You don't want to, but you're going to find it. And once the guy finds Tosk alive, he's super pissed. And it turns out that the whole thing is a Tosk hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And the greatest shame of all is a Tosk to survive and be held captive. So what did you feel here about the reveal of all this?
I thought it was cool, and I was so thankful that their faces were cool, because I was like, oh, the design of the Tosk character is so cool. It sucks that their suits, they look like Kane from the WWE. It's just like
they do.
It's just like a red suit and like a weird helmet, but it was cool to see that it have really good makeup.
But they don't look like Kane. Kane looks like them.
That's fair.
What?
That's fair.
Because Kane debuted in what, like 95, 96?
It's very close here, actually. I'd have to look it up, but it's actually, there might be some overlap.
Because this, I think it's 95 or 96 when Kane debuted, and this was 93. So, WWF, were you stealing costume designs, Emmy-winning costume designs from Deep
October
Space
5th, 1997 was Kane's debut.
97, so it was even later than that.
Yep.
I really want to see somebody wrestle as Tosk. That's my
maybe
next
I
one.
just missed it in my watch through. Maybe you can explain. So one thing that kind of eluded me a bit was totally was buying the beginning of the establishment of the Legend of Tosk and the Hunt and whatnot.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I couldn't understand what Tosk did to deserve the fate of not being killed here, but being brought back alive, which was this big shame. What did he do that was going through the wormhole to try to escape? Was that the...
No, getting captured.
Getting captured by the Federation.
By the Federation. It was basically his job is to be entertaining prey.
Right.
And them just catching him in a prison cell is not entertaining, and there's no fight in there. And so that is the great shame is being trapped.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And not putting up a fight. And like the punishment for that is they let him live, and they like chain him up and
right? Basically
in a zoo. Yeah. And it's the whole thing is just like brutal. But Cisco says, meet me in my office, Hunter guy. Cause Cisco's pissed. And we learn in Cisco's office that the hunters species bred Tosk, the Tosk species, to be hunted. They train for their hunt their entire lives to be slaughtered for sport. It sounds so barbaric because we're seeing it with a sentient species, and yet there's plenty. Look at bullfighting; we have plenty of that in our culture today, and so we can see part of what we're sort of commenting. We're using sci-fi to comment on the greater world.
What up? Yeah, but the twist there that I enjoy, because even then you think, oh, that's the surface level, Keith. Yes, what you just said, absolutely, that's compelling. But add to that, instead of having Tosk running for his life, because you can really easily make your point there, right? Oh, what if the tigers we're hunting could talk? What would they say?
Right.
Okay, well, that's the first level sci-fi, but take the next level. What if they were all in on it and they're like, no, this is the greatest honor. This is what I want. Because then there's more questions. Do they really want that, or has that been bred into them?
Absolutely. And
that's
that
compelling
is
stuff.
Yeah, well, and that is a recurring theme in Star Trek, and it's I guess not surprising that I keep talking about the Federation's concept, the Prime Directive, right? How they deal with intervention, when do they intercede, when do they step in, and that the Prime Directive basically says stay out of it and do not interfere with another culture's behavior, regardless of what you think of it.
So this is where I think the episode hits a little bit of a fork in the road, where it took the road more TV instead of the road Mike Want traveled. Because all of that stuff, super fascinating to me. When they're bred specifically for this, and they are celebrated and they are honored, and I wanted to know all about it. I wanted the bullet points. I wanted the dense lore packet. I wanted to know their character roles. I wanted the whole thing. But TV, what's more interesting to the viewers here? Maybe they market research test audience it. Should we go down that route and explain more, or should we give a couple sentence primer here and then just do a big action sequence and make an escape thing?
Well, I wouldn't put it that way. I would say it becomes more about the personal, emotional story of, what do we do? How do we save this person? What does saving this person look like? Apparently what Mike is looking for is a really detailed packet on how to hunt humans. And so
no, I'm just saying, if I had my magic wand, I think we could have maybe they drug on the mystery of why is he shady pants a little too long. I would have liked to have gotten to this earlier, so we could have explored it a little bit more,
Sure.
and so that O'Brien and to that extent Cisco and Odo's decision at the end had a little more. Didn't seem as rash. It seemed a little more plotted, but
okay, well, fair enough. So the hunter agrees to call the Delta Quadrant out of bounds and plans to take Tosk back through the wormhole. But O'Brien goes to Tosk to try to convince him to ask for asylum. Tosk says no, because it would be a greater dishonor to be protected by the Federation, and he says thank you, but no. Which I think is what you're talking about, the complexities of Tosk's role in this, and that he's not fighting to stay alive. He's fighting to be what he was born to be. And
he was never trying to escape.
He was never trying to escape, and that and he doesn't want out of the hunt, and. And I think we're seeing through O'Brien our concept of morality and justice being so affronted by this.
Yeah, there's a great duality in the line reads, because throughout the episode, the repeated line is always die with honor, die with honor, die with honor.
Right.
And it's great because in the beginning, it seems like he's saying, we interpret, or we sort of project onto him that he's saying it with resignation. But he's not. He never was, and he never is. To die with honor is a great honor. And now, of course, we can extrapolate the should it be's, all that stuff, that great good stuff, which we'll save for the end of the episode. But it's great that the twist on its head. Great point. In our other show, we often talk about a twisty twist for twisty twist's sake, right?
Right.
Is there any reason? Are you telling any story with the twist? Oftentimes, it is not the case in that show. Here, so far, 5 episodes in, the twists always serve a greater purpose, generally.
Well, it's about an exploration of morality that is more complex than your standard exploration of morality. And, all of a lot of Trek, a lot of the episodes are just little morality plays, but it's not quite so black and white. It's we're going to go through this entire episode not being able to say with any absolute certainty what the right thing to do is in this.
And Ben says pretty much earlier on, he says that's sort of moot, right? He hasn't actually, regardless of what we think, we have to let him go. We gotta.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and it's the higher level of morality of the Prime Directive, which for Starfleet supersedes the immediate morality. And it's like the Spock quote: "The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few," and the larger macro morality of the Prime Directive is designed to override the micro morality, and it's really complicated. And we see here there are good arguments to be made on both sides, and we are trying to work towards some sort of compromise. We'll see.
So to segue into your continuation here. So yeah. In all of that, this is the part in the episode which I think is excellent, is that where O'Brien's thinking right now is, let me impart my morality onto him, allowing us a way to save him, because he must need to be saved.
Right. Exactly. So O'Brien and Quark spar because O'Brien's pissed about his buddy. But as it turns out, Quark is a good listener, and O'Brien explains the situation and that they are all stuck by playing the rules. Now, because you're talking to a Ferengi, O'Brien starts to think like an O'Brien, and he decides to change the rules, and he does some tech stuff. So, as the hunter, and actually, to not just gloss over the whole Ferengi of it all, because that's part of what makes Quark so important to the show. Because, and we saw this a little bit on Next Gen, right? Where everybody is on the show is in the Federation. We follow these rules. We have these guidelines, whatever, and we all know what to do. Having a Ferengi out there Ferengis don't give a shit about the rules. They don't have these overriding things. They're very, very practical. They're very transactional. They're very like, what helps me right here in this very minute, and it allows them to think outside of the box a little bit and be more creative and add some creative thinking.
And maybe I read that scene wrong, but what I found once again to be really nuanced about it that I enjoyed was a juxtaposition that in the moment where he's basically saying, "Oh, you wouldn't know anything about the rules. You're Ferengi." It seems as if Quark is about to actually explain, actually, you don't understand a lot about Ferengis. We have a very interesting, a unique adherence to the rules. They might just be sort of different rules. And O'Brien's not even listening to him. He continues to just do his human thing of like, Ferengis, and then he uses that as the catalyst. But it was interesting. I want to know what point Quark was about to make, because it seemed pretty interesting.
Well, the Ferengi do definitely have rules. They have the rules of acquisition, which are a whole mess of sort of shitty guidelines on how to screw people. But part of the rules of acquisition is not getting caught, not letting the rules get in your way. So it's a very they're sort of libertarians. Do what you want. Where were we? So as the hunter takes Tosk prisoner, O'Brien demands to escort Tosk off of the station. He's up to something, and he tosses his communicator still next generation era. You can see from the screenshot there, they have not updated the communicators to the sort of V2 Deep Space Nine Voyager era communicators, which I believe they do for season 2, possibly for season 3. But you can, and if you're a toy detail person, that first line of Deep Space Nine figures had these next gen era communicators, not the updated ones. And in terms of what we know about Starfleet and Star Trek before, the symbolism of leaving your communicator beyond the sort of practical, you can't be tracked, is like, I am not taking this action as a Starfleet officer. And so it's like putting your sheriff's badge and leaving it when you do that. So that's sort of what that's about. And O'Brien zaps the hunter with a force field and runs off with Tosk. And the hunt has resumed.
Little does that hunter know that that's the least harm that's about to come to him.
Indeed, because we see him being thrown off a balcony as they run off to the ship. Pretty big stunt here. Those were pretty high balconies they're diving off. And Odo leaps into action, but Sisko, here we go with our moral ambiguity, says, you know what? There's no hurry. And Odo catches on and slow walks to stop them. So O'Brien and Tosk sneak through the Jeffries tubes while O'Brien uses a slur for Cardassians. They get cornered by more hunters who suck at hunting, apparently, as Tosk zaps the lead hunter because they all just kind of stand there and get shot. So, like you said, with the action sequences,
Did he kill that one hunter?
I mean, I would assume that
he blasted. That thing looked like a blast.
Yeah, well, it's a question of whether or not this species' weapons have a stun setting. Certainly we know from canon that a lot of our adversaries do not have stun settings on their weapons. It's only set to kill.
No, because later they have a whole conversation where they're like, "What are we going to tell them?" Like, "I'll just tell them that his all his technology malfunctioned and like fried him." That's basically what he says.
Well, what are they going to tell the Federation? But these guys, it's part of the hunt. It's dangerous. They get it. Yeah. I will say from the screenshot here, it's pretty cool the practical effects they use here for the sparks, because these sparks you're seeing on the screenshot here, that's not digital. That's not added. That's an actual, it's like a squib, but a spark squib. I guess it looks pretty cool. I like it. So O'Brien gets to the ship, and Tosk offers O'Brien to come along because they're buddies now. And O'Brien says, no thanks. And Tosk flies into the sunset. So how were you feeling here when O'Brien rescues Tosk?
I was like, make out. But they didn't. But that's okay. And
O'Brien's married.
I know.
He can't make out with Tosk.
I don't know.
Okay, although we do not know about Keiko and O'Brien's marriage, but I think we learn later
ambiguity,
that
baby.
But they do not have an open marriage.
You know what? I was like, hug, and they did not. But
they did not.
I thought that for a 46-minute episode of television, there was a very distinct and earned arc to their relationship, and I thought the payoff was excellent. I thought the way that I think Tosk's recognition of how O'Brien changed his thinking to give him what he really wanted was really beautiful. And
I think, to play devil's advocate on your desire to have the hunters show up a little bit earlier, is that the time that we spent with O'Brien and Tosk building that relationship is what earns this being an emotionally satisfying moment.
Mhm.
I think so. I think just from writer's standpoint, I see why they did that. And you're right. In 46 minutes, you have a lot of work to do, and a lot of that's on the actors. But I think they had enough space to breathe to let that marinate a little bit.
And there's a line early on where Cisco's like, "Why?" They have every reason to be skeptical of him, and they even found him kind of meddling around the weapons and whatnot. And O'Brien says it. He's like, "I just don't think there's any imminent threat from him. I can't explain why. I just feel it." And I think that could be lazy shorthand writing, but it wasn't. They were setting up for him to earn that emotional respect.
No, and we're also learning that O'Brien has instincts and has good instincts. And
because for some people, this is they're learning O'Brien's characteristics.
Right.
First time. This is the first time I've ever met him.
Yeah. And, and we know at this point that O'Brien's been through it, right? O'Brien's a veteran. He's been in war. He's been through a lot. And so he's bringing to the table a lot of life experience and a lot of wisdom that maybe, one of the younger characters, Bashir, wouldn't have. Because O'Brien's a little older, a little more seasoned. So in our final scene here, O'Brien admits to Cisco that he assaulted the hunters, and Cisco's pissed. And he dresses down O'Brien. But the chief's like, I hear you're pissed, but you could have stopped me. Like maybe 6 or 7 different times. And Cisco just sort of like does the great captain's nod and tiny smirk to say that I had to dress you down, I had to yell at you, but I also was on.
And
board.
O'Brien's like, "Are you hitting on me?"
Okay, well, so
guys, get ready for that through line for the
forever.
rest.
Look, Cisco is a single dude
With a hell of a collection of bathing suits.
He's got a lot of really tight bathing suits, and he's his wife is gone. He's widowed. He's got if you don't mind a single father, he's a good looking dude. He's in charge of a whole space station. I don't know. Maybe there is hope. All right, kids. Well, that is Deep Space Nine, Season 1, Episode 5, Captive Pursuit. And before we go to the AlamarEmmys, we have a surprise, Mike, a new segment entitled... And now it's time for Mike Indeglio's Star Trek Vocabulary Quiz. Okay.
I did not know it was a quiz for me.
Of course it's a quiz for you. So as we... So
since I've been so articulate for the past hour.
Well, because you are new to Star Trek, we need to help immerse you in the world of Trek with some vocabulary terms. The first one's going to be very easy. Mike, explain to me what a force field is.
Keith, that would be a piece of technology that creates an invisible yet palpable barrier.
Okay, using energy. All right.
Nice.
Okay. So your second question is, Mike, what are the Jeffries tubes?
Oh, I knew you were going to, when you said it earlier, I knew you were going to, it's coming back. The Jeffries tubes are a bunch of subterranean tunnels within the station created by Mr. Jeffries that seem hidden, but apparently are very accessible to both the crew and the hunters.
And what is the purpose of a Jeffries tube?
To escape with your bromance guy? Ah.
The Jeffries tubes are the maintenance tubes.
Oh.
They are for
Who's Mr.
maintenance.
Who's Jeffries then?
Jeffries was the set designer.
Oh, that's cute.
I believe. So that's why they're the Jeffries tubes. All right, so that's one right and one mostly right, but I wanted to play my wrong bumper. So now it is time to come along home.
That's it? There's only 2 questions? That's not.
There's only 2.
There's always 3 questions, Keith.
There's not. There's only so many vocab words, and we have 160 episodes.
Hey, you know what is a question I couldn't answer yet? What the heck is an AlamarEmmy?
Well, we're going to find out when we come along home. AlamarEmmy, count to 4. AlamarEmmy, then one more. AlamarEmmy, it's AlamarEmmy time! All right. Our first question is...
I blew it.
Oh. Our first question is, Mike, were there any wormholes in the plot?
Oh, man. Just...
Wormholes in the graphics.
Well, maybe not. I don't know if it's a wormhole, but I was a little... See, this is why I wanted them to enumerate on the rules of the hunt a little bit. Because... Tosk says he saw a ship go into the wormhole, and so he decided to chase it. And then he's like scanning their ship for weapons. Why is he weaponless? Why is he seeking out weapons? Is he allowed to have weapons in the hunt, or is he supposed to not have weapons? Like I wasn't.
I think he's allowed to have them, but he needs to scavenge them.
Okay, so
it's like at the beginning of Running Man, you have nothing, but you're allowed to scavenge.
So we don't really have a pre-beat. We don't know how long the hunt has been ongoing with Tosk. We don't know how early on. So it could be that he just hasn't gotten any weapons yet.
That's right.
So anywhere he goes, he's like, oh man, I gotta get some weapons.
Or he had them and he lost them, or who knows.
Because the line he says early on is when they go through the weapon scanner with O'Brien, he goes, oh, you travel with weapons on your person? Like that was something that was unique.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought maybe he's not allowed to carry a weapon.
I mean, I would assume that he's never been able to before the hunt, obviously.
But all I'm saying is that for me, the wormhole is I need more rules.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I bet you there's probably in the beta canon somebody has written a novel about Tosk that will have a lot more information.
What's up with the Debo girl?
The Dabo girl.
Back to trivia questions. What is Debo?
We're filling him in. What is Debo?
Keith, what about you? Did he sense any wormholes?
Yeah, well, I think I mentioned it before. I would just like to know what the biological or technical process is that allows him to be invisible. Because it is such a it's not like a little thing. That's a really crazy big amazing thing that I would like to know how exactly Tosk becomes invisible. All right, so let us move forward to what I'm getting refreshed. I'm getting rebeamed in. Mike, what was your best moment of the episode? As he there it is.
I'm just trying to keep you nice and high res, Keith. It's not going well.
No.
I really enjoyed the moment. No, I think for me, this was there's a lot of choice moments. I really liked where Quark's trying to like impart some wisdom, and O'Brien blatantly is not listening to a GD word he says. Gets an idea and takes off, but then Quark still takes it as like, yeah, I did it. I'm a good barkeep. And then he goes up to some extra and is like, so what do you want to chat about? I really like that moment, but I think the best moment for me is the very earned moment at the end with O'Brien and Tosk, especially where Tosk is like, O'Brien, die with honor.
Kiss me.
And then revealed his lizard tongue, but so yeah, those man, the internet, you're not ready for our really cutting insight. guys, I feel like Keith has so much to say, but then Mike just like makes it all horny.
You know, I hate to spoil this, but we have a bumper in our other show, and I just happen to have it right here. Oh,
you know
my
what?
goodness.
It's in the show now.
It's in the show. It's canon now.
It's
It is canon in the Deep Space Nine show.
What about you,
Yeah,
Keith?
so my favorite moment, and I think, like you said, earned, was the final scene with Sisko and O'Brien, where I think it really well articulates the sort of moral complexity we have in this moment, where everybody sort of has a role to play, and we're doing this little dance around each other where Sisko has to dress him down for insubordination, for not following the Prime Directive. He's got to do it, and he's got to do it for real, right? Because that is his job as a captain, as a Federation officer. And O'Brien has to acknowledge it and take it, right? Because he knows that he's wrong in that sense. And at the same time, O'Brien has the wherewithal. I'm free. Just pretend. Nobody's really looking at me anyway. O'Brien has the wherewithal to call Sisko and sort of break the. Mike's dying here. I'm trying to make a point.
That's the best part. The best part is you're like trying to like have a moment.
Oh my god, we're a mess.
I'm not
we're always
going to
be a mess.
I'm not cutting any of it.
No. This stays. It all stays in. That is our contract with you. So yeah. I mean, O'Brien being able to call Sisko on the fact that Sisko's lying. He's telling the truth and he's lying at the same time. Mike is literally crying. You know what? It's a good scene, damn it. It's a really well-performed scene.
When you were like, Mike, we got to do Deep Space Nine. We got to do a Star Trek watch show. This is what you dreamed about?
Take my beloved thing seriously and talk about it with all of the moral questions about the universe.
I found that scene beautiful, too. I'm weeping. I did.
Yeah. Anyway, whatever. You've seen the scene. You know it's great. And you know those performances are great. All right. Before Mike becomes dehydrated from his tears, let us give this episode a rating.
Oh, man. Oh my god. The internet.
He's literally dying.
All right, the rating for the episode, I think, is higher than the refresh rate on Keith's camera.
It definitely is. I don't know what's going on there, but we got an excellent.
I really don't. It's okay.
We got a fantastic suggestion from our friend JD on what we should be rating this in. What is our currency? And you're not going to understand this yet, but I think it's brilliant. We need to rate this from 1 to 100 self-sealing stem bolts. So,
yeah,
Mike, how many self-sealing stem bolts did this episode get?
Out of 100, of course.
Out of 100, of course.
I'd have to say, Keith, I really enjoyed it. It was sort of a bottle episode in many ways. It was very much like an O'Brien-centric type of episode. So I think it's one of my favorite episodes so far. This of the 5. Where have I been kind of coming down?
You've been coming down in the 80s for the most part.
See, I really set myself up. I should have. All right, I'm gonna go. The action was a little lacking. We needed a little more lore, but I think ultimately I still really enjoyed it. So, but I mean, now we're in the 80s, so I think I'm still right there. Nothing's like blown me out of the water yet. Everything's kind of been really good and really solid. So I'm going to stay where I was at, and I'm going to say 83 self-injecting slime bolts. Self-sealing scum bolts.
Almost. You're getting closer.
I got nothing, man.
Self-sealing
stem bolts. Stem bolts. 83 self-sealing stem bolts.
There you go. Congratulations. Oh, I'm saying that. Yeah, I mean, I sort of feel the same way. I think it's this is one of those episodes that I forget about, and then when I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, this was really good. So it's not like one of those like, oh my god, that episode, I can't wait to watch it over and over again. But it's always welcome. It's like that friend that you sort of forgot about, but they're always welcome. And
is this the only time we see Tosk?
This is the only time we see Tosk.
Man, I hope that actor signed some rider and got some money for that action figure.
That is a really good question. I would love to know that. I doubt it.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it.
But yeah, so I like this episode. I really like the sort of explorations of the morality. I really like the design. I mean, there's a reason they won an Emmy for these designs. You know, the action for Star Trek was like actiony. It was fine. Performances were great. We got to see Colm Meaney stretch a little bit. And you can see like, oh wow, this guy's great. And I think that's what they discovered on Next Gen. And we want to give him a chance to do this. You know, but it's a self-contained episode. Like I said, it's a bottle episode. It's not serialized at all. It's not tied into the major storylines. Yeah, I would say it's an average to slightly above average episode. I'm going to give it a 81 Wait, Mike, tell me again what they are.
Self-sealing stem bolts?
Yes, well done. 81 self-sealing stem bolts. All right,
I think that firmly entrenches it as our #1 episode thus far.
No, I think you gave one an 88. But okay. I haven't built the spreadsheet yet, but I'm going to. All right, so next week, what does Mike think's going to happen? Before I tell you what's really going to happen.
I'd like to say that I would like to retire this segment because it's so early, it's hard for me to envision stuff. So I would like to take this opportunity to say to not just our patrons, but if you are a patron, hit us up on the patron message boards.
Yeah.
But also you, our YouTube audience, welcome. Thanks for finding the show. Let us know down below what might be a funnier / more interesting segment than this, because I'm just not feeling the creativity, Keith. But since I have to do it this one last week,
because Mike has no imagination, that's the problem.
For this, well, what I would like to see is clearly more horny stuff. But instead, I think it's time we get back to Kira. I think Kira has got to Kira some stuff. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think maybe because all I generally do in this segment is pick a character I'd like to learn more about. I already asked for more Dax, and we're not getting enough Dax. I want more Dax. So how about a Kira Dax partner up for something?
Okay. And, you know, here's what will help. Mike, why don't you, instead of telling us what's going to happen next week, why don't you tell us what you would use a self-sealing stem bolt for?
This is a family-friendly show, right?
Ish.
Mm-hmm. Well, Keith, I feel like we did joke and we discussed whether the Tosk rate. Do we know what the other Tosk are called?
Just the hunters. Yeah.
Well, I think as much as fun as we had, Keith, and kids watching at home that are maybe a little scared of violence, we joked that hunter might be dead. But of course, Bashir's going to roll up to him during the credits and just jab one of those self-sealing stem bolts right inside him, and he's going to good as new tomorrow. They're going to put a little doodad over them, and the readings are going to be like A-okay.
Well, you want to know why? Because he's going to put a bolt in his neck here and a bolt in his neck there, and he's going to Frankenstein them.
Yeah, Frankenstein them.
There it is. Okay, well, next week we will be discussing Q-less. So look out, kids. Stuff is going to happen.
More like Q more.
Q more. Yeah, it's always... Q is always more. So anyway, if you have enjoyed what we are doing here and our nonsense, and God knows why, you can support us on our Patreon at patreon.com/K&M. For those of us getting this on the podcast and not seeing the video, it's patreon.com/K&ANDM. And we have all sorts of fun goodies there, and it's a great way to communicate with us and send us questions. We're going to do an Ask Anything. That's going to be fun. And you can see Mike watch the episode. It's super fun. So till then, this has been Keith and Mike Watch Deep Space Nine. Thank you for watching K&M Entertainment. If you enjoyed our particular brand of nonsense, please like and subscribe. Or become one of our patrons at patreon.com/K&M.